Hi, welcome to Readers in the Making. Today we are talking about the power of read aloud. It's day 13 on our challenge of 31 days. I hope that you'll stick around. Welcome to Readers in the Making, the live show where we celebrate the magic of books and the joy of helping kids grow as readers. Whether you're a teacher, a parent, or just someone who loves fostering a deep, lifelong love of reading, you're in the right place. Each week, I will dive into actionable tips, creative strategies, and inspiring stories to help you nurture confident, curious, and excited readers, one page at a time. I'm Trina Debery, your host and biggest cheerleader in the journey of building readers. So grab your coffee, your notebook, or maybe even your favorite book, and let's get ready to inspire the next generation of readers. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Let's dive in. Hi, so welcome to the power of read aloud. This is one of my very favorite topics. This was probably my favorite thing to do in the classroom and the media center was read aloud. And I think it is one of the most important parts of the day. It's also a favorite of mine as a parent. I was reading aloud to both of my children in utero. I read to them while I was pregnant. I read to them the day they came home from the hospital. I read to them all the time. And I think reading aloud makes a huge, huge difference. So let's talk about why reading aloud supports literacy at every stage and why it shouldn't just stop with your younger kids, because our older kids also need it. I know that's crazy to think about, but they also need to hear that beautiful language that is actually grammatically correct for once, because we don't always hear that. We don't hear that on TV. We don't hear that in movies. We definitely don't see that on YouTube. So it's important for them to hear the written language, the beauty of the language correct in the right way, at least once a day in their life. All right, so let's talk about why it's important. First of all, it builds vocabulary and comprehension. We are hearing more complex words, and we know that kids that read and are also read to are exposed to so many more words than kids that are not. And this puts them at a very huge advantage. So if your hopes and dreams include your child moving along some kind of wonderful path that you've imagined, they need to be able to understand words, and they need to be able to understand what they're reading and what they're gathering. So it's very important for us to have these conversations and have these read aloud moments. Even older kids really benefit from hearing rich, descriptive language, which enhances their vocabulary and their comprehension skills. Another reason that it's so important to support every stage is it improves listening skills. Listening skills are really important. And as we've noticed as time's gone on, I know for me, I have ADD, and I feel like this is so much more common now. And I think part of it is because there's constant distractions. We've got our phone going on, we've got notifications on our watch, we've got channels on our TV that actually play 4 games at one time. ESPN Live, four games at one time. I'm like, how are you watching 4 games at one time? I just can't fathom. So anyway, our listening skills have just gotten worse. And so listening to a read aloud, it helps improve that. It helps improve those listening skills. It develops focus and active listening. And these are critical for understanding and processing information. So that's another reason. Another reason for reading aloud at all stages is it models fluency. The way that we read aloud, it allows kids to see that we read like we talk, and that when an author gives us specific clues like italics and capitalization and punctuation, we need to change our voice accordingly. And so that really helps kids to hear that and understand that and realize that they themselves need to do the same. It also encourages critical thinking. When we discuss the story and we are helping kids to think critically and think through things, when we ask questions like, why do you think the character did that? And how do you know? And what do you think is going to happen next? And using the information here, what what do you think is going to come? So those kinds of things are really important. Also, reading aloud, it fosters the love of stories. I have shared before on Readers in the Making where I still read to my children who are above the age of 20. My son is 20, my daughter's 24. Every year we read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. It's a very special tradition that we all hold on to. And now we have Jake, and Jake holds on to it as well. And it's a special thing for all four of us. And so it's important. All right, how do we use read-alouds to engage reluctant or struggling students? We let them choose the books that they want to hear. We let them pick things that they love so that they are more invested in the situation and in the experience, whether it's about dinosaurs or space or graphic novels, whatever they're interested in. That's what we're focusing on. We're going to start small. We're not going to read for hours and hours because sometimes when kids are doing something that they don't love, we don't want to make it feel like torture. We want to make it feel like their zone of genius, not their zone of drudgery. So that's really important. Also, pairing read-alouds with activities, things like Makerspace. I just talked about Makerspace yesterday. So if you missed that, go back and check it out. Makerspace sparks that enthusiasm. It gives us a hands-on activity to help deepen comprehension as well as think critically, think creatively. And so that can be something that's really special. Also encouraging participation and not necessarily making them read, although if they are eager to, then we want that, of course, but in the conversation, because even if some kids struggle with the written word or the alphabetic principle, they don't always struggle with comprehension. And so having those audio conversations where they're hearing the information and they're still able to process, it kind of breaks that barrier down. They don't have to decode the word in a read aloud. They get to listen and then they get to show what they understand based on listening. So it's really important. All right, let's talk about some simple tips to make read-alouds fun and stress-free, and then we'll move on because I want to keep this under 10 minutes. I know you're busy. You've got things to do. You're a parent after all, or a caregiver or a teacher, and you've got things to do. So one thing we need to do is set the mood. Maybe creating a cozy atmosphere. I talked about cozy book nooks a couple of days ago, and that's a really helpful episode. You might want some dim lighting, some fairy lights. You want to make it comfortable. You want them to be able to relax, lean back. It's really good for fidgeters if they're in a safe, warm, cozy place. You want to use fun voices and expression. This can really bring stories to life. I have a workshop coming up in February for the love of reading, and one of the stories I share is about my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Bills, and how she was the spark. With her voice, with her Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing, her fudge voice. That was it. I was hooked. All right, you want to be consistent. You want to be flexible. You want, if kids are having a hard day, then maybe we hold off for a moment on the read aloud and we have a little conversation with them. And then we find a book that will help them work through some of those feelings. So that's something to keep in mind. Incorporating audible books or audiobooks, that's really helpful as well. Kids love that. Listening to a really good narrator makes all the difference. And then we want to celebrate progress. We want to acknowledge small wins. We want them laughing at a joke in the story. We want them laughing along with the characters. We want them asking questions. Pay attention to their questions. Questions are such an opening into someone's mind. And so I think that's really cool. And these moments show they are engaged and they're enjoying the experience. All right. I hope that helps. I hope that gets you excited about Read Aloud. There's so many excellent books to read aloud. I absolutely could go on and on forever. And I am going to share a list of some great ones at that workshop coming up in February, and also throughout this Readers in the Making series. I hope that helped. Together, Readers in the Making, you and I, we can really build that confident, joyful reader one book at a time. Have a great day. Take care.